What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Review and Preview. My name is Tom Scavetta. It's been a couple of weeks. Work's gotten super busy with hosting the big game this year, but I'm joined by a very special guest this week, host of Four Corners and the Slick Back Kickback Report. He just launched his 200th episode. Congratulations. Mr. Fonz the Falco, how are you doing? What's going on? Excited to have you.
Well, I feel better. I'm a special guest. I'm really honored, but it's always fun to be here with you, Tom. Always good talking sports with you. Yeah, 200 episodes ahead of my grandfather. Definitely not sports related, but it was a lot of good conversation and whatnot too. So definitely want to check that out. But got more important things right now. We got to talk football here on this week's Review and Preview.
Absolutely, and we'll plug Fonz again at the end of the show tonight. Slick Back Kickback Report. That's his YouTube channel handle right there. Yes, Fonz, we do have some very important topics to discuss tonight, and our Week 6 recap is the first segment of the evening. Folks, before we dive into this quickly here, as I just plugged Fonz's work, if you want to follow our brand's work, there we are below. I'll leave that running up there for just a moment. Week 6 was, Fonz, I'd say it was the parity week. A lot of upsets, a lot. We almost saw more. We almost saw an upset on Sunday Night Football, but the Jets beating the Eagles the first time in franchise history.
That's so weird.
The Browns, too. Like, what caught your eye between these games? Well, I guess we could start with the Jets-Eagles.
Yeah,
you said that was weird.
That was just weird. Because, well, the stat was weird. I never knew. I thought the Jets at least beat the Eagles one time. I figured that much or so. But then I'm like, yeah, they didn't play as much because it's between the NFC, AFC, because we know Jets-Giants don't play each other a lot except in the preseason. But also, man, the P.J. Walker game, Tom. What was going on there with the Browns? Of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, they didn't play him because he didn't do well in his first start. Then with P.J. Walker, XFL standout, beating, one of the more well-balanced teams, I'd say, in the NFL. We say from top to bottom, the San Francisco 49ers, to beat them like that. Credit to Jim Schwartz, in that defense. I think there's like a stat they only allowed like just at 1,000 yards overall through like the first couple weeks of the season. That's insane considering who they played too in those past couple weeks, including the Niners, who have like 30,000 skill players. So yeah, the Jets definitely was a crazy one, but I think the Browns beating the Niners with their third string quarterback, that was just, for me, that was the one I was like, whoa, interesting. Another little note here, Tom, a lot of throwbacks this week too. So a lot of throwback uniforms. It was like the weird week of throwback uniforms. Falcons, Giants, and then a few of the Buccaneers creamsicles. It was a week of throwbacks, Tom.
Yeah, a lot of good jerseys this week.
Got to throw it out there.
Yeah, the creamsicles looked really nice. The Giants looked great losing in those road whites with the old school stuff. The Bills looked pretty good too. But yeah, Fonz, I think for me to answer, your note there, the turning point was when McCaffrey exited the game with an injury. That it swung right into the Browns' favor ever since. And it looked like Walker was getting more comfortable out there behind that offensive line. That line is still good. You got Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. You got good guys on that line. So I can't say I'm too surprised, even though you and I both picked the 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if they did have Nick Chubb and you had Deshaun Watson as during his early Houston Texans days, because that Browns team would be scary good. They still got some good players, and like even Amari Cooper. We forget he was at one point one of the top receivers in the league. He had a couple of nice grabs. He can still get it done. And that's another team, by the Browns wearing their throwbacks as well too. But yeah, I forgot to mention that the team we were literally talking about. But they still got some good players. But I mean, that defense is just really, really incredible too, and the offensive line. So you got to give credit where credit's due.
What's your take on Brock Purdy through 6 weeks? First regular season loss ever. And his only other loss, he got hurt. He got hurt in that Eagles game. So what's your overall take on him as a quarterback? Do you think his success is part of the Niners system? Is he that good? Because coming out of college, he wasn't anything elite or special. Again, he was the last draft pick. He was Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, he was like the fourth quarterback on that depth chart heading into the season. You're thinking, all right, practice squad, not going to make the roster, and we get whatever, maybe a job somewhere else too. It's a little bit of everything, but also too, we say like, oh, the Kyle Shanahan system and whatnot too. Yeah, I get it, but if that was the case, Trey Lance would be there the whole time. Jimmy G would have had so much more success. it's a little bit of both where Brock Purdy does have the talent. Now, if you put Brock Purdy on another team, like say, the Bears with the lack of skill players, or like the Patriots, would he have that much success? No, he'd still be pretty good, but not to where he is now in the Niners. So it's a little bit of a combination of having Ayuk, Samuel, McCaffrey, Kittle, but also being like he can get it done because, like I said, if you had Trey Lance, there's a reason why Trey Lance is not there. There's a reason why Jimmy G, they moved on from him. If that was the case, it's a little bit of both, I think. So I still would consider Brock Purdy one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. You're bound to have, I knew at one point he was going to have a bad game because you can't have this perfect career every single game. You're going to have your one or two, or more than that, if I'm saying for a career. So I think he's going to bounce back nicely. I wouldn't worry too much. It's just 1 week.
Yeah. I agree. I think Brock will be fine. Again, Jake Moody had an opportunity to win the game for them. If Moody makes that kick, we're not talking about this.
A whole different. That's what I'm saying. It's a whole different story too. It's a little bit of everything, I would say.
That's what makes the NFL so awesome. Any given Sunday.
Literally.
Who thought Jalen Hurts would throw 3 picks as well against the Jets? Previously 0-12 against the Eagles.
Without their top 2 corners. Without their top corners. Let's just forget that part too, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We'll talk about the Jets in our next segment. But, Fonz, I know you're a big Dan Campbell fan, and I appreciate that. Not trying to act like I own him, but he was a Giant at one point. He was part of that 2000 team that lost to the Ravens in the big game. He was part of that 2002 team that made the playoffs. He was Shockey's backup. He was also our starter in 2001. We were between Howard Cross.
Giant.
What's your thought on these Lions right now? I mean, they beat the Bucs 20-6. I think last year and in years past, the Lions have always had a good offense, right? With Matt Stafford, Jared Goff now. It was always good, in my opinion, more often than not. The defense was always the bottom of the barrel in the NFL. And this is the first time they've been this good since 2011. I mean, 5-1 is shocking for this team. Unfortunately, a historically losing franchise.
No.
I mean, they controlled the ball for 36 minutes. 36 minutes. That's like a Bill Parcells or Don Shula ran team.
They're fun, like, to watch, Tom. And you know what's crazy about it? With the defense, like, they don't have these big name corners, safeties, defensive. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's a stud, obviously. But outside of that, they don't have these household names that you think like top defensive name, like the well-known defensive players. It's going to be a while before you name a Lion, right?
Jack Campbell.
But I'm saying, like, you name the top defensive players: Aaron Donald, Fred Warner, Roquan Smith. Just then you go Aiden Hutchinson, then you go then you go to a Lion. Like, seriously, it's with how Dan Campbell kind of was from the press conference from the beginning. Like, hard nose, bite the kneecaps, whatever. Like, they are fighting every single game, whether it's home or away. I think I'm so impressed with how they play on the road, which is so important, especially when you get to the double-digit weeks of the season and into January football, which I think they're definitely a playoff favorite team. Actually, I have them winning the division right now because of how much of on a roll they are too. And the offense is Goff is a very solid quarterback. He's been very good this year, and actually was pretty good last year for them too. Ever since he joined the Lions, it was a nice little reset. I think he needed to change of scenery from the Rams culture, needed to go to Detroit. He fits in well there, and then he's loved there. I just wish they gave the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit more, but I think as the playoffs get closer, he'll get more touches too. Mon-Ra St. Brown playing as one of the top receivers. Sam Laporta, an underrated tight end we should definitely keep an eye on too. And Tom, guess who just came back? Jameson Williams. Just wait until he's fully involved in the offense. He wasn't drafted at top 10 for doing nothing. There's a reason why they put him that high up, where they really maybe didn't need a wide receiver at the time. He's going to be used a lot as he gets now acclimated more into the offense. It's just a lot of no-name guys and guys that were, again, Mon-Ra, late draft pick. Jared Goff was left out of the Rams. David Montgomery, too, was a solid back for the Bears. But they kind of let him go and wasn't known as one of the more top backs in the league, too. Even saying Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe a reach. A lot of guys that have a lot to prove here. And that's what you want in this team and this culture. He's building that culture. So I'm lying, as they say. Like, really, I'm really lying on this team.
Yeah.
And they deserve it. Look what this franchise has dealt with for so long. You know, you had two of your greatest players retire early, Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson. Like, they deserve this, and I'm really happy for them.
They do. 100% deserve it. Montgomery, unfortunately, left the game with a rib injury that ruined my 6-leg touchdown parlay. My first 5 legs hit Fonz. It was Cooper Kupp, Jalen Hurts, who both scored. I had McCaffrey, because McCaffrey scored a touchdown in every game that he's been a 49er. And then I had 2 others that hit. Jordan Addison from the Vikings. And then there was one more. I can't think of it off the top of my head. It was Raheem Mostert. So I had Mostert, Addison, Hurts, McCaffrey, Kupp, and Montgomery.
Ooh.
And FanDuel would not let me cash out after Montgomery got hurt.
Oh, sorry, Tom.
Absolute scam. Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs was hurt, I believe. I don't think he played this week.
He's not here. He's going to be out. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, it's a guy who they reach for. Like, why are you drafting a running back? You don't need him that high up. And I was high on him heading into the draft.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that have a lot to prove. And what's like more scary getting into the playoffs with a lot of players, with 53 guys that have a lot to prove. So that's wait till it comes in December, January. They're going to be an interesting team. I'm definitely keeping an eye on.
And one last question on the Lions. You mentioned Jameson Williams, 45-yard touchdown catch this week. We know Amon-Ra's the X. Do you think Jameson's going to emerge as the Z receiver in this offense? Because right now it's starting to look real up for him.
Yeah, I would say so. Again, last year he didn't play that much. I think he came back in the middle of the season. I believe it was a torn ACL, I think, in his last game at Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, or a severe injury. This season came in, was suspended for gambling, and that's a whole nother story. Then got reinstated when they changed the gambling policy. So he hasn't had a lot of time to he hasn't really had a full season where he came in being like, I'm playing from day one.
Yeah.
So I think eventually, yes, he's going to be the number 2. Amon-Ra is a clear number 1. There's no doubt about it. But, I give it again, like a couple weeks, he's going to be more into like the starting with him and Amon-Ra, like both on the one end to the other. So give it some time. He definitely is going to be the number 2 guy for them.
I like it. I'm rooting for him. Definitely rooting for him.
He is very good, guys. I mean, really, watch him in college. He'll have his spurts here and there now, but wait till he's fully healthy in the run. Like he's going to be unstoppable on that team. Yeah,
I'm happy he's back. I believe he was suspended for gambling. No,
that's what it was. Yeah, gambling.
It was 6 games, right? So
then it got
4.
It was 6.
Brought down.
Yeah, because they changed the gambling policy, so he came back a week before.
Got it. All right. Well, yeah, NFL is a crazy league. You never know what could happen every week. And I want to get into our next segment, our team of the week. Obviously, Fonz, if you remember back in our studio days, review and preview, when we did the show consistently, every single week live, we used to have our team of the week segment. I've decided to bring it back, but in a different form. Rather than just picking one team, we kind of make a little fantasy squad lineup as our team of the week. So we'll go position, or how did you do yours? You did QB.
I did one for each. One QB, running back, receiver. I did a tight end. I do through 2 defensive players, but I'm willing to do another receiver as well too.
All right. I mean, it doesn't matter. You want to go over your QB first, then I'll give you mine.
Yeah,
and then we'll go from there.
Well, a QB that we kind of just talked about, Jared Goff, 353 yards and 2 touchdowns, 30 for 44. Completion was a little bit lower, but still, he was slinging the ball to everybody. Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra, Josh Reynolds, another guy who we should look out for too. A guy who got cut twice and had a lot to prove coming into the season. Was almost going to get cut too by the Lions. So they got a lot of players, but Goff is just slinging it to everybody. Sam Laporta too. So I got to give him credit, man. Against the Buccaneers, they still have a really solid defense. So Jared Goff's my QB for team of the week.
Nice. I agree. I also have Jared Goff. Not to be a little plain here, but yeah, 353 passing yards. He's a top 10 QB this year. You could argue he was even one last year as well. Yeah, he has done a lot of good. So that QB. Who is your running back? Probably your favorite offensive skill position, you know. So,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, it's not 2003 anymore.
Yeah, I know I can't do 2000 otherwise. But like I got to give credit to Raheem Mostert here with 17 carries, 115 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Tom, do you remember in the offseason, what was everyone talking about with the Dolphins? What was the thing everybody was saying? I mean, offensive line, yes. But what was everyone saying in the skill positions? What do they need? Who should they get? Dalvin Cook, trade for Jonathan Taylor, draft a running back, maybe go for Bijan Robinson or somebody. They probably don't need him now with Devin Achane and Raheem Mostert. Everyone's saying they should move on from Raheem Mostert because he's injury prone. Maybe put him as the number 2 guy. I got to give this guy credit. Didn't really make a big fuss about it. Didn't say he wanted to leave. He was like, all right, let me prove my worth here. Has stayed healthy, has not missed a game. Maybe I think he might have got banged up one game, but like still has played in every single game and has lit up every single game. 100+ yards in every single game, if I'm not mistaken, or close to it, including multiple touchdowns. And I got to give Mostert, man, he's fitting well with this Dolphins. Mike McDaniel knew, like, all right, we don't need Cook. We don't need Jonathan Taylor. We know how Cook's playing now with the Jets. It's another conversation, really not living up to the hype. Jonathan Taylor getting maybe into the swing of things, who knows? Mostert, they end up being right with Mostert. So he's my running back on the team of the week.
That's a great pick. Mostert, 31 years old, oldest starting running back in the NFL.
That was it too. Like saying he's older now, we need to go young in the position. I forgot he didn't play that lot in the beginning of his career.
No, he didn't.
Former Raven kick returner, by the way, in his rookie season.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you know? Wow.
Former Raven kick returner, and then we put him on the practice squad. The Browns scooped him up, and that's where he bounced around from like every single team.
Giving me a taste of my own medicine with those fun facts.
Yeah, see? Look at that. Once a Raven, always a Raven.
That's right. He's becoming the new Frank Gore in a way. You know, I'm very excited about that for him. So hopefully his longevity continues and he stays injury free. They'll need him with Achane out the next few weeks, I believe. So
yeah, got him, and then they got a lot of other running backs, but Mostert is going to be the guy. So he's going to have another great season, I think.
So my running back, some bias here. Kyren Williams, Rams running back out of Notre Dame.
There it is. That's one I knew exactly. I need to hear it.
Averaged 8 yards a carry, 20 rushes for 158 yards and 1 score. Yes, they were playing the Cardinals, but still, the Cardinals just gave, I believe it was Zach Allen, a pretty big contract in the offseason. So one of the few players that is, eating up some salary cap on their team. So, yeah, I think this was overall a great game for him. Unfortunately, he got hurt. So it'll likely be Zach Evans next week. Fantasy owners, if you need a running back off the waiver wire, grab Zach Evans. Fonz, I will not touch him. Just a heads up.
Thank you for that. my fantasy aren't doing that well this time around, Tom. We're on a comeback. Fonz's Lobos, we're on a comeback.
You handed me my only loss of the season so far.
That was my second win of the season. So,
and you know what my mistake was that week last week? I started Sam Laporta over Dallas Goedert, who Goddard had 25 points and Laporta had like 10.
Goddard got the 1 week you don't start him because I did that week too in my other league, and of course I think I lost because of the Goddard situation.
Yeah. So, but it is what it is, Yeah, so that's my running back, Kyren Williams.
That's a good pick. I would use my number 2 if we were doing 2 running backs. I would definitely put in Kyren Williams. A good choice. Receivers,
who do you got? So I'll tell you quickly, position wise, I went 2 receivers and 1 tight end.
Okay. I think I might have read your thing. I thought you meant like either do 2 wide receivers or a wide receiver tight end. I think I read. But listen, there was a lot of good receiving games by the way, so we can go a bunch. Yeah. It's the same team for me on the receiver because I got to give the credit with Tyreek Hill. I know it's like easy probably answers, but my goodness, it's like every week you're thinking like Tyreek can't do this every single week, right? Like I'm literally watching the Dolphins. I'm like, he can't do this every single week. And then here he goes, like 50-yard touchdown, backflip selfie. I'm like, he's doing it again. And it's just crazy to me because like he's not this big bodied receiver. He's not like Amon Ra. He's not like Justin Jefferson. He's not going to go for the jump balls. He's just gonna speed past everybody. Good route runner, can cut on a dime and can go and find the open man, which works in the Dolphins offense. So I give credit. He's on pace for 2,000 yards. People, this is ridiculous. This is like in a good way though. In a good way. And a reminder, he's 29 years old. He's almost getting to 30. So it's like there's no stopping this guy. He's only been improving so much.
Yeah. I took him too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 163 yards, 1 touchdown. What's his receiving yard total? 814 through 6 weeks.
I was listening. It's funny because I was listening. This was funny to me because I was laughing at it because I was listening to the Le Batard show. They had Andrew Hawkins on, former Browns receiver. I don't know if you remember him with Joe Thomas.
I do.
And he was talking about like, yeah, like my career year was 800 yards. And then he said just randomly, Tyreek Hill has that in 6 games. And everyone started laughing. I'm like, wow, like that's like incredible. Back then, like a top receiver at 800 yards, like in a season back in that era. And now Tyreek has it in literally 6 games. So I started laughing at that. I'm like, that is ridiculous. So
he's also mine.
He can literally have he can just crack 100 every single game and get it. Like he can just crack it. Maybe one game have 120. And like, if he has a minimum 90 every single one, there's a good chance to get, which is like, again, how? I'm just going to say how.
Jalen Waddle owners, I'm sorry. That's all I have to say. Who's your second wideout?
Well, I'm gonna go. If you want to give me your second wideout too, because I'm gonna look through here quickly because there was a couple on here. I can put, who would you put on here? Because I gotta double check on this one.
I'm rolling with Cooper Kupp. 7 catches, 148 yards, and 1 score. People thought he might have trouble, coming back from the injury. He's looked really, really good. He's been a big boost to this Rams offense. All of a sudden, the Rams are 3-3. Their defense is not good outside of Aaron Donald and Ernest Jones. So they've struggled a lot. So they're relying on their offense right now. And he's an excellent mentor to Puka Nacua. Mm-hmm. You still have Tyler Higbee up the middle. I believe they still have Van Jefferson as well.
He went to the Falcons. He got traded.
He did get traded. Okay. Yeah. There's so many receivers.
To Atwell.
To Atwell's the other one up the slot. Yep. So it's not like he's getting forced the ball.
They have a bunch of options.
I hate to throw this out there, but yeah, they have several options. And Kupp is the alpha. So he has to be on mine.
So I have my second receiver, and I was looking through it because he's on my fantasy team. He's been helping out. And he didn't have the flashy 100-yard game, but I got to give a credit to Jacoby Myers here for the Raiders. He's had a really solid, underrated season that really nobody really talks about. I know we're saying with Devontae Adams, one of the top receivers, and the Raiders, we make a joke about it. Josh McDaniels, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but Jacoby Myers is having a pretty good year. 5 catches, 61 yards. He's had a touchdown in the past 3 games. Been a solid fantasy contributor. He's had a nice little run with the Raiders here, leaving from the New England Patriots. So I'll put him on here as my second receiver, just as another option. I don't want to copy with Cooper Kupp. So I think it's Jacoby Myers. We gotta give this man his flowers. He's had a pretty solid season so far.
Good pick outside the box. He played under McDaniels with the Patriots too.
That's right.
Yeah, good one. My tight end, I'm a big tight end guy.
No, I know you are.
Big tight end. Big advocate for tight ends. I really dislike this tight end, but I put him on my list. Travis Kelce, 9 catches, 124 yards on 9 targets. 9 targets, 9 catches, and I had a 40-yard catch. Thursday Night Football was awesome. Again, you're going up against the Broncos defense. I mean, you got linebackers like Alex Singleton and Josie Joel who were just not good being isolated one-on-one in space. That's why they drafted Drew Sanders, who we have not seen enough of yet. And Kelce obliterated that defense. Shout out to him. He had an outstanding game.
Yeah, I put Kelce on mine too. So I don't want to feel like we're going to be a little bit of a copycat here too. It's crazy with the tight ends though, because they only you have the 1 or 2 really good ones. Hockenson also had a pretty solid game too, 50 yards receiving too. Again, you're not going to expect them to have the 100+ yard ones. It's weird with the tight ends because you got the Kelces, the Kittles. And maybe you can put like Mark Andrews, Hockenson, and then it's just kind of a little bit of a downfall on here too. But I put Kelce's my number 1, but Hockenson's a close second for me.
Yeah, I like Hockenson too. He's kind of leading that target share in Minnesota now with Jefferson out over Addison and Osborne. Defensively, I'll give you my 2. I went Danielle Hunter and Justin Matabuk. From the Lions, from the Ravens. Your guy.
Oh, he had a good game. He had a very good game.
I think that's how you say it, right? Matabuke. Matabuke.
Some say Matabuke, but I think they now say Matabuke. I think it's like one of the R. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 sacks, 4 QB hits for a defensive tackle. That's not very common.
Yeah, no, he's been very good. There's reasons why we let other defensive tackles go, not letting Michael Pierce play as much. Matabuke has been very, very good for us. Another Ravens find in the draft.
And Pierce is getting older too. So, and Patrick Queen has had an outstanding season for you guys. I think a lot of that credit is due to Matabuke filling all those gaps, right? Yeah. A gap filled up. So Queen comes in and makes a play, right?
I would say, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm saying with the Queen situation, it's a combination with Matabuke, and I think the trade for Roquan Smith helped him because Patrick Queen, I think, is better as the Will linebacker as opposed to the Mike linebacker. Because his coverage is less than desirable, but he's a good run stopper. I think Queen has had a really nice bounce back season pairing up with Roquan. It's definitely helped a lot, and Matabuke also. So I think that's definitely helped overall with the team, having those two guys plug in instead of having Queen running the defense by himself.
Yeah, and then my Danielle Hunter pick, I'm biased again. I love the Vikings defensive line, and the Vikings defensive line coach is now with the Giants, Andre Patterson, former Vikings D-line coach.
Oh, okay.
He helped develop Danielle Hunter, who learned a lot from Everson Griffin. And I get it, Fields got hurt, but Fields got hurt because of Danielle Hunter's hit. So he's a phenomenal edge rusher. And, there was no ill will intent on that play, but Danielle Hunter is really, really good. So he is my second guy.
There's some good choices here. I do have two defensive, and I do have one honorable mention I just wanted to mention, but my two main ones, I'm going to put Geno Stone for the Ravens, safety for the Ravens. He had a pick early in the game, excuse me. He's had a nice job. He filled in for Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams is coming back, but Geno Stone is starting alongside next to him. Guess what? 6th round pick, Tom, for the Ravens. Just want to throw it out there. 6th round pick for the Ravens.
Costas.
Yeah, he didn't make the roster on the practice squad. Went to the Texans, then came back to the Ravens, and then now he's had a nice little. I thought he'd be more of a special teams guy. He has been solid, but he's been very good in our defense, stepping up nicely. Next man up mentality. 3 tackles, a pass deflection, and a pick, which really helped. He's had, I think, 4 this season so far, which is really good. And my second one, Tony Adams, Jets safety. We had the 45-yard interception return to help the Jets win that game against Jalen Hurts. That was really clutch in the moment again for a defense that didn't have their 2 top corners. Those are my 2 picks. My honorable mention, I have to mention it, Tom. I don't know how we do it. Jadeveon Clowney in the final drive against the Titans, 2 sacks.
Yeah,
Clowney was. I don't know how the Ravens do it with everybody except Odell, but that's a whole nother story for another day. They bring these guys in that maybe have something to prove left in the tank, and Clowney has had a pretty solid season for the Ravens, I would say. A pretty solid one. No one's really talking about.
Ravens love to take chances on older players who are still, popular names that may have not been great over the past couple of years, and they just have this crazy resurgence.
And by Van Noy, too, another name. Van Noy had a half a sack
Kyle
that game.
Van Noy.
Yeah, I don't know what it's something about the Ravens loving taking gambles in the late rounds of the draft and this too, and the free agent signings.
Yeah, and I think he's drafted Ojabo when he had that injury issue. So
that's what it was. And then he's been pretty good, but he's on the IR now. He might come back later in the season, but he's been pretty solid for us when fully healthy. But yeah, he wasn't like a 1st round talent too. We got him in the late 2nd round. I don't know how it happens every time. Yeah. I'm amazed by it.
You threw an honorable mention, so I will quickly too. Bobby Okereke has to be mentioned for his effort against the Buffalo Bills. The middle of the field was not open. PFF Team of the Week, 11 tackles, had a pick, 2 tackles for loss, 2 passes defended. He's very underrated in pass coverage. Him and Mike McFadden, those 2 linebackers. Giants haven't had good linebackers in a long time. Yeah, I know Blake Martinez was here for a short period of time.
Very short. It was a short tenure, and Alec Ogletree was a little bit past his prime with the Rams. So I think these are the 2 better linebackers you guys have had, at least that I remember in recent years.
McFadden's a good kid too. I mean, they drafted him in the 5th round out of Indiana. He's really good. He's all. I mean, unfortunately, Fonz, you've had the distinction of seeing the Giants on 4 primetime games now, and you hear Bobby's name called a lot. You hear Mike McFadden's name called a lot. So there you go, on Wink Martindale's defense.
Hey, look, listen, you're welcome. That's all I got to say. You're welcome.
Thank you. We still got Jihad Ward, Jihad Ward.
Just Jihad Ward. Just leave it at
that. Well, he had to start because Aziz was out. So
you charted Justin Pugh too. I feel like I want to ask you about that.
Justin Pugh, you know what? We'll go there quick. Yeah, I thought again they straight off the couch.
No, I literally saw that. I'm like, I thought he was a Cardinal.
Yeah. So he tore his ACL in week 6 of last year.
So he wasn't even on the team. He wasn't even on. He literally was off the couch.
He was drafted by the Giants.
That's what I'm saying. I remember he left for the Cardinals, and I thought he was still a Cardinal, to be honest with you.
Well, he was living out in Arizona. He joined our practice squad 2 weeks ago. They elevated him. He looked pretty decent out there. I know he had a couple penalties, but he hadn't played left tackle in like 8 years.
Yeah,
so,
like
he's not a left tackle.
Yeah, he's a guard. That's why I'm saying, like, yeah, like it's again good. They should keep him on the active roster because there's rumors that he might be signing elsewhere now after that whole thing. So they can.
He reverted to the practice squad, unfortunately. Yeah. So he can choose where he wants to go now. If he wants to stay, if he wants to go.
Yeah.
They did though. They signed another former Raven, Tyre Phillips, off the Eagles practice squad.
Tyre Phillips? He was solid. He was a good rotational guy. Struggled when he started, but came in as filler spot for Ronnie Stanley at times. He's not bad for you guys. He's a good rotational lineman.
He was with us last year, if you remember. He started 5 games.
That's okay. Yeah, that's why I'm like thinking. I thought he was a Giant already.
He was.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he didn't make the final roster. We lost him on waivers to Philly, and we got him back. So,
yeah.
Next up, Fonz. Battered, wounded quarterbacks all over the league. It's sad.
A lot.
I didn't even mention all of them on here. You know, we have Jimmy Garoppolo, who was taken to the hospital with a back issue. That was bad. Daniel Jones, of course, with the neck issue. It's not good. But, I mean, the 3 I wanted to mention here, Trevor Lawrence, Anthony Richardson, and Justin Fields injury updates. We know Anthony Richardson, unfortunately, is out for the season. Very high on him after the first couple of weeks. He'll be replaced by Gardner Minshew. Trevor Lawrence, questionable for Thursday Night Football. Not sure if he's going to play. And then, of course, there's Justin Fields, who's replaced by Tyson Bagent.
Yeah, from Shepherd.
Division II Shepherd.
Hey, he made the roster, so he beat out Nathan Peterman for the backup job. I guess he's talented, right?
Yeah. Which quarterback do you think leaves the biggest hole on their football team?
I probably would have to go with Trevor Lawrence because considering the fact where they're at now, they're very close within the division. I think they're tied for the division, or at least they're winning that division too. And they have a lot more potential, like making the playoffs as opposed to the Bears and the Colts too. So I would have to say Trevor Lawrence, at least because the Bears are, listen, shout out Andy Hopper, they're a dumpster fire. The Colts, we knew they weren't good heading into the season. Anthony Richardson, they're doing the smart play by not rushing him back in because he's literally a young kid. This is like his 4th game that he started and whatnot too, and he already had 2 major injuries, but in the season major injuries. So they're making the smart move by just being like, you know what, you're going on IR. We'll come back next year. We're not really going to be making the playoffs anyway as well. Too, we have Minshew is capable of getting us a couple of wins here and there. So I'm not worried about that. I think he needs to get the rest and kind of develop whatever. And Fields, the Bears, is just chaos within that whole organization. I don't even know what's going to happen next year. But with Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars, they're trying to win now. And obviously he's struggled a little bit. He had a slow start to the season, kind of was bouncing back nicely. So if he misses out, it might ruin his momentum a little bit here too. So I would say the bigger impact is Lawrence, considering the fact where the whole Jacksonville Jaguars are as a whole right now.
I agree. I'm with you. Trevor Lawrence being out is huge because their backup is CJ Beathard. All due respect to him, because we know his brother, his younger brother, obviously tragically passed away a few years back. LIU quarterback, by the way. LIU post quarterback.
Yeah.
His younger brother. But Yeah, I don't know if you can rely how long you could rely on CJ. He's serviceable. He's serviceable.
If for Thursday night, it wouldn't be the worst. You know what I mean?
No.
But if then it's like 2-3 weeks, it's like, all right, considering how good the Texans have been and the Titans are always in the damn mix, as much as I hate them, like you can't afford to have him miss 2-3 games, you know?
And it's an out of conference game. So I don't see a big issue if you play CJ Beathard this week.
Yeah.
So
it's a short week for everybody. It's not just the Jaguar. The Saints also have a short week too, and they're banged up a little bit and their defense isn't up to par as well too.
Yeah.
So in the situation, like it's not the worst. Heading to week 8 and he's still not healthy, then I would start to maybe worry a little bit.
Yeah, and Derek Carr is playing through his sprained AC joint.
Yeah.
He's playing through it. I mean, he's that tough of a dude, you know? So, which kind of leads us to our next quarterback I want to talk about here. The Zach Wilson-led New York Jets defeat the Philadelphia Eagles, or should I say defense-led New York Jets.
You know what? A win's a win, you know?
Yeah.
A win's a win, Tom, no matter how you slice it.
I agree. Yeah, and I think he's done a decent job. I think Rodney Harrison should be ashamed of himself for the comments he made with Chris Jones.
And Chris Jones handled it perfectly. That was a perfect response. Very professional by Chris Jones. I'm sure he gained a lot of fans just for I didn't know him that much. I knew he was good, but like as a person, like, you know what, I gained a lot of respect for someone to like to say that. I'd be like, no, like he's special. Like he needs time to develop. Like shout out to Chris Jones for that one. I just have to mention that. We bashed Rodney Harrison, but I got to give credit to Chris Jones for, you know, making it a little bit better, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. But are the Jets a legit playoff contender with Zach Wilson at quarterback? You know, Breece Hall is healthy. You have Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin, and CJ Uzomah. Good tight ends.
Alan Lazard's a good receiver as well. Cobb is a good veteran presence to have there. Not Mekhi Becton, the other guy. Vera Tucker's out for the year. Or is it which one's out for the year? Someone's out.
Vera Tucker.
Offensive line is a questionable, which we kind of said when Aaron Rodgers came in. It was like, that's going to be the issue with the offensive line. Tom, I could still put them in the conversation. They could sneak in a wild card spot with Zach Wilson's playing the way he's been the last couple of weeks. Tom, he didn't turn the ball over last week, if I'm not mistaken. And if he didn't turn the ball over against the Chiefs, they probably would have won that game. I was at that game. He was looking well. Crowd was loving it. If he didn't fumble that snap, I think the Jets would have won that game. And they almost did if it was for the penalty. So just limit the turnovers, which he's been doing. The defense has to step up. But they can with that whole defense. I think they might be still a playoff contender. They might not guaranteed lock division or guaranteed lock wild card, but it wouldn't shock me by weeks 15 through 17 to the end of this last game of the season. They're in that wild card conversation where they need to win and maybe have another thing factor in, but they're going to be in this conversation until the end of the season.
And to think they could be 4-2 if they beat New England. You know, they lost to the Patriots. So.
And then
that's my only
didn't happen. Right. They could be 5-1 if they beat the Chiefs. You know?
Yeah, they could be. They played them tough too. Very tough games, Fonz. So they're a contender. Do they get in with no Rodgers? I don't know. Because Miami's very good. Buffalo's very good. You know, you still have one more against Buffalo. You have 2 against Miami.
That's what it is. I get that's the problem. So I think maybe honestly by week 18 they'll be in the conversation. Now week 18 they play the last 3 games of the season. This we're fast forwarding to the end of the season. They got Commanders, Browns, and Patriots. You know, 3 teams that the Browns might be fighting too, but 2 of those 3, maybe not. You know.
Yeah, I think it's legit. I think it's very legit. But speaking of legit, the AFC North might be the most legit division in football right now. Yeah, every team is 500 or better, with the Bengals trailing in last place currently. Obviously, the Steelers and Browns both 3-2, each played 1 less game. Baltimore Ravens are 4-2.
Yeah.
And the Bengals are 3-3 after starting 1-3. So
think about this, Tom. The Ravens could have been 6-0 if the field goal didn't happen with the Colts and they didn't let up the George Pickens touch. No, seriously, it's been less than a touchdown, touchdown less each of those games. And this division is wild. Everybody's playing really well. Bengals are bouncing back nicely. I said in the beginning the Bengals were the favorite to win the division. I switched up my take with Andy saying the Ravens are, and I'm going to stick with that because the Ravens, yes, those 2 losses, but they were still consistent in those games throughout too. Had some troubles here and there, but it goes back to me, at least with the AFC North, with the Ravens. I said this before, that Ravens offense is the best supporting cast Lamar has had, and Todd Monken, offensive coordinator, has been doing such a great job with Lamar. Lamar has thrown it to at least 6 different receivers multiple times this game, and at least the Bengals game they won, he threw it to 8 different players, 8 different receivers and tight ends and backs. So he's spreading the ball out, which has been helpful. And everybody's been hurt. It's the next man up mentality. And it's been working really well. So at least for the favorites, I still have the Ravens. The Bengals are going to be creeping up now, and I think the Steelers, their defense is going to help hold them to, and the Browns also. So it's going to be like the last 2 weeks of the season. You're going to have at least 2 of those teams make the playoffs in that division.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ravens and Bengals are shoo-ins for the playoffs, despite Cincinnati's early season struggles. I know they have a tough slate, but you can't count out Joe Burrow. I think it's silly to not have them making it, to be honest, because the Steelers' offense is a dumpster fire. They'll still finish around 500 like they always do.
Mike Tomlin season.
And then the Browns have a quarterback problem as far as like health. Who's going to play? It's a different guy, but you can't count them out either. Kevin Stefanski is a very underrated head coach, in my opinion. They're always in the mix over the last few years. So
that's it. No, that's true. Unlike my Arch Nemesis team, but I don't want to talk about that now. I don't want to do AFC South favorites.
And I just want to say, I'll admit it. Shame on me for having recency bias and picking the Titans to beat the Ravens.
Yeah, well, they almost lost that game too. By the way, two penalties in the end zone by their corner there too. And oh my God, that got me nervous that morning.
Are the Ravens past the Titans being their kryptonite?
Oh, for sure. I think beating them in the playoffs a few years ago after that helped them. This definitely has helped them out a lot more. I think a lot of those guys left the team. Tannehill is the same. That 1-year run was great, granted, but he's not still the best. Derrick Henry's still a top running back in the league. So that in the defense, they have some pieces here, but I think the kryptonite is long gone. I think for a while it was the Bengals, but that win against the Bengals in week 2 early in the season is going to help them out in the long haul, I think, as it gets later on to the season. That was a big help for them, too. Their kryptonite might just be the Steelers, to be honest with you. the Steelers in the fourth quarter, I feel like.
So you might think I'm crazy. I think the Browns make the playoffs as that third wild card. Why? They just beat the 49ers.
Yeah, that helps.
With a backup quarterback. Their defense is great with Myles Garrett leading the charge. Grant Delpit. I mean, their secondary is phenomenal. Greg Newsom's developing wonderfully.
JOK, their outside linebacker. Jeremiah I forgot
Owusu Karamoa.
But JOK, I'm saying, yeah. A Notre Dame guy, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's how Tom knows the full name. That's how he knows. No, he's been really good. Underrated linebacker in the league, I think. No one really talks about him. He's pretty good.
He is pretty good. But I do think we might get 3 teams out of that division.
Yeah, there's a very good shot. In the beginning of the year, I had the Steelers making over the Browns. So, I mean, it flip-flopped. But, the Steelers, I think I was kind of thinking the offense would step up nicely, but their offense is just a dumpster fire. That defense they're lucky their defense is good enough because they could easily be like 0-5 right now, I think.
Yeah. The way I have it is South gets 1, West gets 1, because the Chargers will fire Staley after this year, not making it. The East gets 2, Buffalo, Miami, and then the North gets 3. So right now, for me, it's between the Jets and the Browns for that final spot. The Chargers could definitely overtake because the Chargers were part of my original prediction.
Yeah,
Justin Herbert, but
trust the Chargers because
they lost Mike Williams.
They get injured. It's not Herbert because Herbert's great.
It's not.
There's always 1 or 2 major injuries on them that'll cost them every single year. I don't know how they do it.
No. But speaking of the Chargers and the rest of the NFL, let's get to our Week 7 preview. Fonz, we have 8 games to go over. We'll go through these relatively quickly. Let's start with the Jaguars at the Saints. We were just talking about this on Thursday Night Football. I have to correct this line because the line is down to 1 because it's trending towards Trevor Lawrence playing, but I don't know for sure. So who do you think comes out on top? You know, the Jaguars are on a 3-game winning streak. ETN has been the catalyst of that offense. 5 touchdowns. He's ran the ball really well. I love Josh Allen. 7 sacks on the year. Who do you
Contract year too. Contract year with Josh Allen, by the way. So he's going to get paid somewhere. I still have the Jaguars winning this one. They're on a nice little hot streak here. ETN's been great. We bashed him for drafting running back in the first round. That was maybe one of the only Trevor Lawrence, too, one of the 2 great Urban Meyer selectors during that run. At least it worked out in their favor. They have some great receivers. Obviously, Pro Bowler Evan Ingram is having a nice little season with Jacksonville. Tom, shout out to you with Evan Ingram. Pro Bowler, I have to keep saying it. Pro Bowler with the Giants, Evan Ingram. The Saints, I just don't trust them. I just don't. Their offense isn't terrible, but I just don't trust that defense. Give me the Jaguars.
All right. Yeah. If Lawrence plays, Jacksonville wins. I could see Lawrence struggling. Early on, the Dome's a tough place to play. So I could definitely see this going the other way, but the line worries me. Will this flip if Lawrence is active, or will it stick this way? Because I'm just wondering, could Vegas know something that we don't?
Yeah.
Right?
They always do, Tom. They always
Vegas
do.
gained, not to switch to college quick, but Vegas gained a lot of money last week with people picking USC over Notre Dame, with Notre Dame favored. So just saying, just throwing that out there.
Conspiracy theories, Tom. It's a future podcast here on Review and Preview.
It's bait. It's bait. But yeah, no, I think Jacksonville wins. Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley each over 350 yards. Andre Cisco and Darius Williams each with 3 picks, under the radar guys. If Lawrence plays, I'm going Jacksonville. Next up, Browns at the Colts. On the road, Browns. Big upset win over the 49ers. The Colts, really frustrating. No Anthony Richardson for the rest of the season. Gardner Minshew versus P.J. Walker, potentially battle of the backups. And we know Deshaun Watson's missed the last couple of games. Browns have an elite defense, just 79 yards per game allowed on the ground. Amari Cooper's getting healthier. Good young secondary, as we mentioned. Who do you got?
Give me the Browns with this one. The PJ Walker game, if potentially he's playing, he will happen again too. So I got that one. Colts are wearing their alternate black helmet uniforms. They're going to look ugly in the loss. So I'll throw it out there, by the way. Again, I consider jersey rankings in this one too. But the Browns, that defense is incredible. With the backup quarterback, it's just the recipe for the Browns, like smoking them, I think.
You said you don't like the black helmets?
I like the black helmet. I don't like their blue uniforms with it.
Oh, okay.
I don't like their old look. I don't like the whole look, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of it. Looks very.
Does it look like Duke, by the way?
It's Duke football vibes. I get Duke football.
Yeah, just because of that, give me the Browns. No, I think the Browns are just the better football team. You know, they win games that you're like, did they really win this game? They beat the Bengals already. They beat the 49ers. They've beaten some powerhouse teams. So I think Cleveland improves to 4-2. Next up, my game. Commanders at Giants. Washington is favored. I am.
Oh, boy.
Tailgate starts at 8 a.m., 1 p.m. kickoff.
Oh, God.
I want to say, Fonz, I'm not trying to convince you here. I am 4-1 all-time at Giants games. The Giants lead the rivalry all-time 106-71, and then there's a few ties in there. Commanders' tough road win last week against the Falcons. Sam Howell, 1,500 pass yards on the season, 9 touchdowns, but he does have 6 interceptions. The Giants' defense has forced 6 turnovers over the past 2 weeks against the Dolphins and the Bills. The biggest question for me, will it be Daniel Jones or will it be Tyrod Taylor? You know, the Giants have major offensive line questions. Will Andrew Thomas be back? Who will start at left tackle? This is a Nick Gates revenge game, who is now a Commander. But Washington has a lot of offensive line problems themselves. It's part of the reason why Howell has thrown these 6 interceptions. They can't get Jahan Dotson involved in the offense. Howell can't get past his first read really at times.
Dotson, I was so high on Dotson this season. I'm like, this guy's going to break out too. And Terry McLaurin's not doing that well either,
No.
So, Tom, I was flip-flopping, man. But I'm like looking into that Commanders defensive line and how incredible it is. And it's going to, Tom, I'm sorry. It is going to go steamroll the Giants offensive line because again, the Commanders offensive line has troubles too. But when you look at the Commanders D line, it's close right now. I have Washington very close, but I could easily be flipped to it, to be honest with you. But I got the Commanders for this one.
Yeah, the Giants desperately need John Michael Schmitz back at center. I think that could be a huge boost for them because right now Ben Bredeson's not a center. If you get Bredesen back, or if you get Schmitz back, move Bredesen back to guard where he belongs. Start Pugh over Mark Lewinsky. And then, hope they get Andrew Thomas back. This hamstring's taken almost 6 weeks to heal fully at this point.
Right.
I like the Giants here. Mm-hmm. Why? They don't lose at home to Washington. They just don't. Again, it's a divisional game. It's very difficult. It's only a 2-point line. It feels like to me, Fonz, when fans are very down on the Giants, Washington is always their get right game.
I noticed that actually.
Yeah, I think the coaching too is in our advantage. Ron Rivera, he's got some guts. He makes, but he's very old school as well. No problem with the old school mentality. Yeah. We've seen that work in the modern day NFL, but with a new school approach, I think is what you have to consider as well. I like the Giants here in this one, 17-13. I'll be exact.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the defense comes up big. Next up, Falcons at the Bucks, NFC South matchup. I'm not sure if either of us thought either of these teams would have 3 wins heading into Week 7, but they do. Bucks coming off the bye, they're 3-2. Well, Week 5 bye, I should say.
Yeah.
2.5-point favorites at home against Atlanta, who's coming off a tough loss. Falcons have lost now 3 of their last 4.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you have here?
I'm going to go with the Bucks. It's really close here. I think I'm in the quick picks. I have Tampa Bay also on there, but I'm going to go with the Bucks here. Listen, Baker had the bad game here, but listen, he's been having a good season so far. Still have a good offense. Their defense is pretty good here. Falcons, I just don't trust Desmond Ridder because I don't know there's going to be a week where he passes it to Kyle Pitts, which is, actually only 1 week. A week where he gives it to Drake London. I don't know. He's very inconsistent. At least Bijan has been a nice focal point in that offense. But again, how much can you rely on your rookie running back? And their defense can struggle a little bit outside of A.J. Terrell. So give me the Bucks here on this one.
Well, the thing was last year when Mariota got hurt, Arthur Smith waited till like week 13, week 14 to make the change at quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think Ridder is going to continue to be the guy. I haven't given up on him yet. It's too early to give up on him.
I get that. I want to give him more weeks too, but I'm saying there might be, if he struggles a little more, it might be time to put in Taylor Heineke.
I agree. But let's remember too, he played at a G5 school. Mm-hmm. He had 1 good game against Notre Dame a couple years back in college. 6 interceptions. Bijan has yet to score a rushing touchdown on the year. Baker Mayfield and the Bucks are really, really solid in the run game, and also their defense stops the run very well, which could force Ridder into 3rd and longs. That's a negative game script for Atlanta. Also, fun fact that's not so fun for Atlanta, Desmond Ridder has yet to win a road start as a starting quarterback in the NFL. So I'm picking Tampa Bay based off of that logic and those X's and O's there. Not to mention Ridder was undefeated at home up until last week.
That was a crazy stat, by the way, and in college, and also in college too, by the way.
Yes. Incredible, right? So that brings us to your game.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Lions 3-0 on the road this year. They're 5-1. First time since 2011. Ravens favored by 3 at home. They're 4-2. Goff over 1,600 passing yards, 11 touchdowns. David Montgomery left with a rib injury last week. If they're without him and Jahmyr Gibbs, that's a big, big problem. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Sam Laporta, each with 3 touchdown receptions. The Lions defense, Fonz, we mentioned this earlier on the show. The biggest difference this year is their defense. They only give up 64.7 rush yards per game. Who do you got?
It's like my two favorite teams here, Tom. My NFC team this year, and obviously my Ravens. I'm gonna go with the Ravens. This is gonna be a very hard fought. I think this might be game of the week, one of the most watched games. I feel like this is gonna be tough nosed football game between a team that's hungry with a lot to prove, and also the Ravens have a lot to prove too. But it's gonna be a good quarterback matchup. It's going to be a very close game. It's going to literally come down to the last drive, I feel like. So I'm going to give the Ravens, but it's going to be very close. I'm definitely going to be watching it from start to finish.
Well, you don't have to convince me, Fonz, because I'm also taking the Ravens on this one. It's not as – I don't think it's to be a shootout like a lot of people are expecting. I think it's going to be a relatively moderate to lower scoring game. Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews have been the two top weapons for Lamar this year. I actually want to ask you this question. Is the Lamar Jackson has no weapons argument still valid?
No, not anymore. Now, look what he's had. I mean, last year, yes. His MVP season, Tom, is second leading receiver outside of Marquise Brown, not counting Mark Andrews, was Seth Roberts. He was on that starting team. So let that sink in. So I think now the excuses are not there anymore. Again, I'm taking the hat off. I'm taking the Ravens hat off here. There's no more excuses when you have, 2 first-rounders in Bateman who, still questions about him, but he still has his moments. Mark Andrews, you have Odell who can give you his moment here and there. Zay Flowers, Devin Duvernay, you have some good running backs and 2 tight ends, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. So I think that's done, I would say. So I wouldn't put that excuse now on him anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. And defensively, you guys average 4 sacks per game. Matabuke with 4.5 through the interior. Patrick Queen with 3.5. Roquan Smith is pretty much the patrolman on that defense. And then Geno Smith. Geno Stone has been a hawk back in that secondary. He's developed very nicely. 3 picks. So, yeah, Baltimore improves to 5-2. All right, next up. The Steelers, 3-2 on the road at the Rams. Steelers win ugly, low-scoring games. Their 2 losses this season were blowouts to the 49ers and the Texans. The Rams' 3 losses were to the 49ers, Bengals, and Eagles. Rams favored by 3. Fonz, who do you have?
I'm going to go with the Rams here. It's crazy because I didn't think the Rams would do this well at 3-3. I'm going to be honest with you. If they were going to let go a lot of these players, then you had guys like Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Kyron Williams, who were stepping up nicely in this offense. Stafford's having a nice little bounce back. Cooper Kupp looking like his old self. And I mean, I didn't question it. But Aaron Donald's still showing you why he's one of the best defensive players, if not the best player in the NFL. He's still wrecking havoc back there. So I got the Rams one. I think it's probably going to be like maybe more than a touchdown, I would say. I would say that because I just don't trust this Steelers offense, especially when you're going cross country here.
I'm with you. I'm taking the Rams. Cooper Kupp back in full force. Matt Stafford, I trust him much more than Kenny Pickett. I don't think Pickett has proven yet that he's the answer. Again, I'm not either way on him just yet. George Pickens, good receiver. Deontay Johnson is on the designated to return from IR list. Again, he's in that 21-day window period right now. I think the Rams just need to worry about TJ Watt. 8 sacks on the year. You don't want him to control the tempo. But I do think the Rams pull it off, and I do think they cover this 3-point spread, which leads us to another big game. AFC West, Wild West, Kansas City hosting Los Angeles Chargers. Chiefs are 5-1. Chargers are 2-3. Chiefs 5.5-point favorites. Their defense has not surrendered more than 20 points in their last 5 games. The Chargers are coming off a tough loss to the Cowboys. They lost Mike Williams for the season. Eckler just came back from injury.
Yeah.
Who do you have here? I don't think this is going to be pretty.
It's going to be Chiefs. I think they're going to score more than 20 points. I just don't trust this Chargers team, and it's not a knock on Justin Herbert. I think it's with the cast around him. And I think with the injury history, the coaching staff and everything, I think Staley's going to be one of the first coaches fired, at least maybe in this season, I would say. I'm not sure yet, but I think the Chiefs are going to win this one with ease. And I hate to say it, guys, I do like Herbert, but I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs on this one.
I'm with you. Mahomes looked good. He's a gunslinger. He's thrown a few picks here and there. But outside of Travis Kelce, I really like the development of Rashee Rice. He's been really, really good. If you don't have him in fantasy, grab him.
I did.
Grab him.
I did.
Patrick Mahomes had a lot of influence. You did?
Yeah, in one of my leagues, I grabbed him.
Okay.
I think I'm
check. So Rice is on the Chiefs due to a lot of influence from Patrick Mahomes. They took him in the second round over players like Jalen Hyatt and company, So I think there's a lot to unlock here with him. Not to mention, this is the Drew Tranquill revenge game, former Charger, who now leads the Chiefs in tackles, Notre Dame guy, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
Chris Jones has 5.5 sacks through just 5 games this season. Again, remember, he missed week 1. He was sitting in the stands on Thursday Night Football. He was sitting in the press box up there holding out. And he signs after the loss, and they're 5-0 since getting them back.
Yeah, it's the difference that guy made against the Jacksonville Jaguars game, too. That was
KC.
Perfect.
Yeah, they bounced back. Last game, Fonz. I know we've gone pretty similar in most of these games, except for the Giants one. Dolphins at the Eagles. This should be a good one. Eagles at home, favored by 1.5. Jalen Hurts, 7 picks through just 6 games. This team, Philly this year, they beat the Patriots by 5 points. They beat the Vikings by 6 points. They beat the Commanders by 3 points. They're not as good as they were last year. That's for sure. But do they have enough to beat the surging Miami here, who is 5-1 for the first time since 2002?
I'm gonna go with the Dolphins winning this one, simply just because of how ridiculous this whole team's playing in the offense, defense, and special teams too. Eagles, it's gonna be, I think, a lot closer than what people think. Eagles are gonna have a little bit of a bounce back game. Not gonna be as many really turnover. I think it's gonna be offensive firepower from back and forth. I would say I think it's gonna be a high scoring game between both. I would say, but give me the Dolphins to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, Hurts is coming off a 3-pick game against the Jets. He won't do that again. I think the good news for him, the Dolphins' defense might not be as good as the Jets, but their offense is like elite. The Eagles have one of the best run defenses in the NFL, so they have that going for them, allowing just 65 yards on the ground per game. Their defense has forced 12 fumbles, recovered 6. And they have 20 sacks through 6 games. They brought in Zach Cunningham and Nick Morrow, a couple veteran linebackers in the offseason to replace TJ Edwards and Kaiser White. Still no Nakobe Dean for them. Again, this tells you a lot why this guy fell in the draft.
Yeah.
But that Jalen Carter impact is big. I mean, 3.5 sacks. I don't like the Dolphins' offensive line in this game. That's the biggest problem for me. Can they get the ball out quick and get it to Tyreek Hill? Despite the fact of their O-line not being great, Tua has only been sacked 6 times. Van Ginkel and Sealer each have 4 sacks, so I think that will get going for them. I'm going with the Dolphins, but I don't know. This could go either way. Every time I pick against the Eagles, they win. So this could be one of those games where the Eagles get back on track. They just signed Julio Jones today.
I saw that. I was like, huh. Like, interesting. I'm like, huh. I did not expect for him to be playing again and to go to the Eagles of all teams.
Yeah. Fonz, let's get to our lock and upset. Who is your lock of the week? It can be any game that we didn't discuss, game that we did.
I'm going to go with the Raiders against the Bears. You're playing against, I don't even know, I forgot his name already, the guy playing from Shepherd. The Raiders are
Tyson
Bagent. They're playing good. I said Jacoby Myers. Garoppolo, if he comes back, I don't know, but Brian Hoyer was really solid, and they still have Josh Jacobs. Defense isn't terrible because Max Crosby, that guy is just an unbelievable pass rusher for them. I'm gonna go with the Raiders as a lock here. I know it might be a little bit crazy, but I got them. I got the lock for the Raiders. A little outside the box here, Tom.
All right. I'm going with Buffalo over New England, and that's always dangerous taking a divisional game. But New England's 1-5. They have no offense. We hear press conferences from Mac Jones every week, how he has to do better, how he's going to continue to start games. They just gave Malik Cunningham a 3-year deal. Bailey Zapp is in the wings. I don't see New England doing well here. Their offense operates like it's 1995. The Bills are just a better football team, and they will not look the way they did against the Giants on Sunday Night Football again. Yeah. That's for sure. Upset time. Upset alert. Who's it going to be this week?
I mean, I just for technicality purposes, I put the Jaguars. It says the Saints are favored here, so I'm going to go with the. If also Trevor Lawrence doesn't play, I think no matter what, the Jaguars, I have them winning here. So I got them on the upset. I don't trust the Saints defense on a short week. I think the Jaguars are hot on the right time, so I'm going to go with the upset here with the Jaguars.
All right, for me, Giants over Commanders. Danny Dimes, even if he doesn't play, I trust Tyrod Taylor. I do.
Oh, former Raven.
That's right.
Always a Raven.
Daniel Jones owns Washington, though. So if he plays, I think we'll see a really good game out of him. Tyrod Taylor did a really good job avoiding sacks last week. Again, we were within 1 yard of defeating the Buffaloes. So I think, realistically speaking, the Giants will get back on track this week as far as getting respect again, because that's the biggest thing right now. All right. So 2 more segments left. We're going to do our Immaculate Grid of the Week, which I've incorporated into our show now, weekly segment. This is where we kind of get to turn back time just a little bit. See if my screen cooperates with me here. All right, here we go. All right, we got it up. So, folks, for those of you who are new, don't know how this works, this is the Immaculate Grid. Fonz and I are going to walk through this here and try to get all of these boxes filled correctly. If we get one wrong, we can't fill it out completely. So, basically, you have to match the teams and guess a player who played for both teams, or guess a player with the relevant stat.
I'm with
it. Fonz, I'll start with you here. What are you thinking?
So do you have the keep the tracks of all the past ones you've done of who've had the lowest rarity score out of all of us? So I want to try to get that low rarity score. You know how I am with this.
Yeah.
Right away, if you want to save it, I'm pretty sure Jeremy Shockey played for the Panthers, so I would go Jeremy Shockey, Panthers, Saints. That's the first one that popped into my head. That's
we
the
could
first
go with that.
That's the first one. If you want to go really, really more irrelevant, that's the first thing that pops into my head. If you guys have anybody else, I'm pretty sure Shockey played for the Panthers.
The only one I think that can possibly be more irrelevant is AJ Klein.
Did AJ Klein play for the Saints? I know he played for the Panthers.
He did.
Okay. Well, yeah, that could work too.
Klein, Shockey.
I think because Shockey played later or like earlier. I mean, you know what I mean? Like he played back in the day. Klein's still playing, if I'm not mistaken.
Shockey. Yep. 2%. Okay.
Thank you. Wait, never mind. Darren Sproles played for the Chargers, Saints, but they're not in the same one. I was thinking of like Saints, Cowboys. Oh, Saints, Cowboys. Well, we could do the 3,000 passing yards if you want to get those out of the way. I think we can kind of know who we're going to go with on those. Raiders. I feel like with those, you kind of want to go with the more relevant ones or the ones we know more, unless you want to do the rarity score on that.
Rich Gannon for Raiders.
Yeah, the MVP season. Because I was going to say Derek Carr, but if you want to get try to get it, I would say Rich Gannon, I would say, for the Raiders one. 20. I feel like you're going to get high ones for this anyway.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's been the same QB for a lot of years. Chargers, I mean, Herbert's the easy answer. I'm trying to think. Phillip Rivers and Herbert.
Breeze.
Did he do that with them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and also Aaron Brooks for the Saints.
Oh, I love Aaron Brooks. So I would love to put Aaron Brooks. Brooks have the 3,000. He had to have, right?
Yeah. 9.
Yeah, Aaron Brooks was so good. You know what? Since we already have, I'm gonna look at Aaron Brooks' stats now, just for the hell of it. You can also do Dan Fouts for the Chargers.
Dan Fouts.
I don't know. He might have had 3,000. He had to have had 3,000, right? Was he one of the best Chargers quarterbacks of all time?
Yeah, 18.
Yeah,
there you go.
These might be lower though, because people probably forgot he was a Charger. You know what I mean? Because they were gonna put, people were gonna put him for the Saints. You can't use the same player twice, so he might have been a little bit lower.
Did Thomas Davis ever play for the Chargers? The linebacker that tore his ACL 3 times.
Yeah, no, I remember the name. He played for the Commanders, I know, to end his career. Was he a Charger? He might have been a Charger.
I'm wondering if we take the guess, roll the dice. We could always come back to that one.
Keep it on the back burner, but I feel like you might be right because I think he played for the Panthers and then ended with the Commanders. But I think that in between spot, he had a year or 2 with the Chargers. I distinctly remember him wearing that helmet, though.
You know what,
so you might be right.
Live once.
Wait, we don't know, but how many Thomas is it? 2020? He retired in 2020. Oh, look at that! See, I remember the 1-year run with him. Raider Panther.
Josh McCown.
Was McCown a Panther?
Yeah.
He was a Raider though too, right?
He was, yeah.
We need him for anywhere else.
Or Kerry Collins.
Kerry Collins might be more unique.
Yeah.
I kind of like the Kerry Collins one. $32. Really?
32.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that is surprising. Yeah, we really went old here.
Yeah, we're old.
Charger. Like we have one face.
Charger Cowboy.
Oh.
I'm thinking of a receiver, and I can't think of his name. What was his name?
Was Jason Garrett a Charger?
No, I don't think so. You know what popped in my head? But I don't think he was on the roster. Do you remember the name Laurent Robinson for the Cowboys?
Spelled Laurent.
Like Lauren with the T at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was a Charger, though. I know he was a Cowboy because he had that one fantasy year with them.
Yeah.
That name just popped into my head for some reason.
I think he was. Now that I think of it, I think he was.
I wouldn't.
I don't feel as confident as I did with Thomas Davis, though. For that
I don't know why that popped into my head.
Saints, Cowboys, you could do Andy Dalton.
That's a good go if we have nobody else. I wouldn't hate it, you know. Is there a running back on there too? There's got to be running backs.
Raiders. Darren McFadden.
Yeah, Darren McFadden. Cowboys. Put him on there. Might as well.
Darren McFadden.
I also remember another one. Not Keith Smith, the Falcons fullback, but his brother Rod Smith was on the Cowboys Raiders too.
Oh,
I just realized that.
That probably would have been.
We would have been Raiders. Danny Woodhead did not play for the Cowboys. Wes Walker didn't play for the Cowboys. He was a Charger. Oh my God, this is hard. Tom, man, this is
hard.
Panthers, Cowboys.
This is a difficult one.
I mean, we could do Cowboys Saints. We could just do Andy Dalton if you just want to play it safe, you know, for time's sake.
Out of the way.
Yeah, you know.
31.
It's a lot lower than what I thought too. You know, I thought it'd be a lot higher because just played for them. Charger Cowboy. I don't know what name. Not Khalil Mack.
Damn, I have I have somebody who might fit the mold.
What do you got?
I'm thinking, I don't know why Larry Allen's coming to my head, but
Larry Allen didn't play for the Chargers. I don't
know.
No, he was the.
What about? I hate to go with another quarterback, but Ryan Leaf.
Was he a Cowboy?
I don't know for sure, but I know he was definitely a Charger, and he played for an NFC East team, and it wasn't the Giants, and it wasn't the Eagles. I just don't know if it could have been Dallas. That would be rare if he was to hit.
I don't want to put LaRon Robinson. That's like a back burner one for me.
Oh, hey. Remember the punter, Matt McBriar, for Dallas?
That'd be a good get.
I think he played for the Chargers too. I think it just popped into my head now.
I'm thinking of now that Cowboys team in the late 2000s. Oh, Patrick Creighton, their punt returner.
He's definitely a Charger.
He was definitely a Charger. I remember him being a Charger, and I remember him being a Cowboy. I remember that. I want to. Can you look if Matt McBriar or Matt, who you said he might have been a Charger? When you said that McBriar, I'm thinking of that Cowboys team. I remember.
Oh, it was Ryan Leaf. Look at that.
Oh, Leaf. Brandon Cooks, yeah. Amari Cooper. I didn't even think of Amari Cooper. I feel stupid.
Dalton could have went there too.
He had less on there, which is crazy.
Yeah. Mike Tolbert. He didn't even come to mind.
That was the running back I was thinking of. He was a Charger with Michael Turner and LaDainian Tomlinson. That was the back.
You want to see if McBriar was on this list?
Yeah, because you said that special teams unit that I remembered. I remembered Patrick Creighton. He was a good punt returner.
All players. Oh, they were going alphabetical order. Oh, there he is.
No, you were right too. That could have worked.
There
and Ryan, I didn't know Ryan Leaf played for the Cowboys. I honestly did not remember that.
He was backup, for Quincy Carter.
Yeah, I'm thinking that NFL street team too. It was Chad Hutchison and Quincy Carter were the quarterbacks, and Troy Hambrick was the running back.
That's incredible. Yeah. What was it? 153 was our rarity score.
Yeah, it works.
For live shows, that was the lowest, by the way.
See, the Patrick Creighton gotcha. The Patrick Creighton one hell.
It did.
And Jeremy Shockey.
Yes, Jeremy Shockey was huge. But our final segment of the evening, Fonz, you're a huge Ravens fan. I know you've done top 10s with me on the Giants before. Yes. I want to return the favor.
Thank you. This makes me feel happy.
Our top 10 favorite Ravens from the 2000s. We can go in reverse order here. We'll start with our 10th favorite and then go up. As the guest, I'll start with you here with number 10. We can repeat answers.
It's this one. We had years of really bad receivers, and I have to give the man his flowers. Never a Pro Bowler with the team, but he's somehow the Ravens' all-time leading receiver, and that's Derek Mason. I just have a soft spot for Derek Mason. He's number 10 on my favorite Ravens of the 2000s. Not the best Raven. Well, actually, he is the best Ravens receiver. But I have a soft spot for Derek Mason. He's number 10 on my list.
I like it. Spoiler alert, he's on my list as well a little bit later. For me, Fonz, number 10. I'm a big tight end guy. You know where I'm going with this. Todd Heap.
A little low for you, Tom.
Yeah, a little low for me is right. Todd Heap is number 10 on my list. Really likable guy, in my opinion. Played for the Ravens, it seemed like forever.
Yeah, for a long time.
Two-time Pro Bowler in his second and third year in the NFL. Former first-round pick, too, by the way.
Yeah, first-round pick for them.
So that's my number 10. Who's your number 9?
My number 9, people now remember him because he played for the Patriots later on, but he was a Pro Bowler for the Ravens, again, with the Ravens with the linebacker picks. Adalius Thomas. A name not people probably remember, but he with Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Peter Boulware, Adalius Thomas. Was that 4 set of was just insane. So Adalius Thomas is my number 9 on here, and also just the name alone is great.
Also known as T Sizzle, or no? Ah, shit. That's the other one.
Well, listen, they both had the T in there too. Terrell Suggs.
Yeah. Suggs is my number 9, by the way.
That works.
Yeah. I was thinking a little bit ahead there. But yeah, Terrell Suggs is mine. 139 career sacks, most of them with the Ravens. Played from the Ravens from 2003 all the way up until 2019. Incredible career for Terrell Suggs. I'll never forget his 14 sack season in 2011. I believe that was the year before you won the Super Bowl, because we won it and then you won it. And I believe we were both 9-7 when we won it.
Yeah. Or we might have been 10-6. I think we
might have been 10-6. Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor led us to the fun. We clinched a playoff spot, and Tyrod Taylor played instead of Flacco, and he led us to a win. So, thank you, Tyrod.
Number 8, Fonz.
Number 8, a little different. I'm gonna go. I know he played later on. He kind of went better in the more of the 2010s and whatnot. But Haloti Ngata is on this list for me. 1st round pick in 2006. Didn't really kind of became a staple as one of the better defensive tackles until 2008, 2009, I'd say. But he was still a Pro Bowler, I think, in his 2nd year. Haloti Ngata, though, was a very good run star for us. Again, that defense was just stacked with players. People forget about Ngata. I think a lot of people do. Ravens fans don't. But I think outside of the Ravens fandom, people forget about him. But Haloti Ngata is my number 8 on my favorite Ravens.
I like it. I remember Haloti Ngata specifically through Madden. Great player to use. My number 8 is Bart Scott. I'll never forget his year in 2006 when he had 9.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, 9 passes defended, playing next to Ray Lewis. He was a fun player to watch. Very familiar with the New York market now. Ended his career with the Jets. Little fun fact there about Bart Scott. And of course, Bart Scott went undrafted in 2002. Fun fact.
And how about that? Another Ravens gem found it.
Yep.
They somehow do it every single time. Bart Scott didn't make my list, and I will give him credit for what he's done. He would have, but he didn't have that. He had a long run, but a lot of other line. It's hard. Again, that's another name because I didn't even mention him before. Look how many damn linebackers they have. What are we on, number 7 now? Jamal Lewis. Jamal Lewis. You guys know how I am in my 2000s.
Yes.
Rookie of the year, offensive player of the year, one of the few 2,000-yard rushers. I wish he played a lot longer for us. Was on the roster his rookie year. He started as running back for the Super Bowl team in 2000. Jamal Lewis, bruiser, one of my favorite 2000 running backs, probably up to number 3, behind Steven Jackson and Michael the Burner Turner. Again, that's just no bias. Those are my top 3 favorite running backs from that era.
I like that pick a lot. I remember Jamal Lewis's play in the Super Bowl 35 against the Giants. Was it 30? Yeah, it was 35. I think they ruled it a touchdown. It was the play where Mike Barrow and Sean Williams were trying to push him out at the 1-yard line. The play itself was revealed about 35 different times, and then they finally gave Jamal Lewis the touchdown. Jamal Lewis did not make my list, but Jim Leonard did, and he was only a Raven for 1 year.
Interesting.
But I liked him. I liked what he did as a Jet primarily, but I did like him as a Raven as well. One of my good buddies, diehard Ravens fan, big Jim Leonard fan, so I kind of followed in his footsteps there with that one. Also, pretty decent punt returner.
Good.
So that's my number 7.
Don't hate that one. I don't. I actually am a big fan of that one. My number 6, you mentioned him, Todd Heap. Love me some Todd Heap, but none of the more underrated tight ends of the 2000s. Just a good security blanket for Kyle Bowler, who was god-awful. Kyle Bowler is not on my list, by the way. If we had a competent quarterback, I think the Ravens would have won like 2 Super Bowls, at least 3 in that 2000s era. I'm just saying. But we were just horrible. But he was a good security blanket, good tight end for us. I wish he got a ring for us because he got drafted the year after they won the Super Bowl, and he retired just a few years before they won in 2012. So I wish he got one during that time period. But, you know, because he left for the Cardinals, but still big fan of Todd Heap.
Nice. Yeah, Todd Heap, I probably should have had him a little higher, thinking back on it, but really solid player. For me, my number 6 is Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. A lot of people forget he was a Baltimore Raven because of what he did with Dallas. Yeah.
That's true. I didn't factor in that. I factored in how they were as a Raven. You know what I mean? That's what I.
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
But he wasn't terrible on the Ravens, though. Too. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't bad.
No,
he was pretty good. But let's see, what are we on? Number 5 now, right? This is number 5.
Yes. Yep.
Number 5. This is just NFL Street 2 in a nutshell. This is how I became a Ravens fan. By the way, like I didn't know anything about football. If you guys don't know, I got NFL Street 2, or I think Street 1, one of them, and I needed a team, and I saw the Ravens colors, and I'm like, ooh, this is nice. But that defense was incredible. So these next 5 are just a staple of NFL Street for me. Number 5, Chris McAllister, the cornerback for them. Chris McAllister was such a fun cornerback to use in that game. He was a really good player for us in the era where we did not have a good secondary outside of another name we'll mention, and McAllister, where we always needed that second corner opposite of McAllister. We went through Samari Roll, Dwayne Starks, Fabian Washington. McAllister was always a consistent corner for us on the one side, so I got to give him his flowers. Number 5 for me.
I like it. You might see him again in a few minutes. Number 5, Fonz. I don't anticipate you having this guy, but I also love Hog Molly's offensive lineman, Mike Flynn, who transitioned to be the starting center after Jeff Mitchell left following the Super Bowl run. Started at right guard in that game against the Giants, and the reason why I have him on my list, Fonz, he dominated Cornelius Griffin in that game. Oh, my God. Pancake after pancake. It was not a good game for us, and Fonz, I'll be honest with you, that's the reason why he's on my list. Again, I did not consistently watch games back then. It wasn't until 2002. But, yeah, I remember watching that because my grandmother recorded all the Super Bowls back then. And then that game, it was just the Ravens offensive line dominated our defensive front. The Ravens dominated us all around, really. But I had to throw in an offensive lineman in there, and that's the one I threw in, number 5.
Yeah, not a bad one. I'm also going to throw an offensive lineman in a little bit, but my number 4, we already mentioned him, Sizzle. Talk about Ray Lewis is the best linebacker in Ravens history, but Suggs is number 2 for me for the linebacker spot. Easily, these next 4, by the way, Tom, is my Mount Rushmore Baltimore Ravens, and Suggs is that conversation for that 4th spot. So Suggs, big fan of him. Even once Ray left, he was still part of the team. He was still consistent for us. And when he left, I was sad. He went to the Cardinals. Then he went to the Chiefs, and I didn't hate it. I wanted him to actually win that Super Bowl. I wanted the Chiefs to win because I wanted Suggs to get at least one more ring. And he did, again, not like a whole star for the Chiefs, but he was a good rotational guy for them too. So I rooted for him. I always loved Sizzle's personality. Ball so hard university just made like the defense fun. Like actually had a personality in the era where sometimes you didn't get a lot of personality with defensive players too. So Sizzle's my number 4.
Number 4. Interesting. My number 4. So I actually just lied to you, Fonz. I had Jonathan Ogden as my number 4 as well.
I love Ogden.
For a second, I thought he was I always knew he was a tackle, but for a second I had him in as an edge rusher. I don't know why I wrote that.
He would be a scary edge rusher too.
Yeah.
By the way. He would be scary.
But what I wrote for Ogden is that he had 176 career games started, 11-time Pro Bowler, 14 first-time All-Pro. He was Baltimore's first ever draft pick as a franchise back in 96. So
96, I believe, yes.
The best thing you could have as a franchise is a cornerstone left tackle outside of a franchise quarterback. And Jonathan Ogden was part of the reason why Trent Dilfer became a serviceable quarterback for the Ravens in the early 2000s, and why Trent Dilfer has a ring to this day. Jonathan Ogden protecting his blind side is my number 4.
Love Ogden. I wish he played for us a little bit longer, a little bit of a shorter career than most. You say 96. Well, it's still a long career, but 96 to 2007. You would think they would, because he was still a serviceable tackle even in 2007, was a Pro Bowl that year. So I thought he would have at least a couple more years. I'm glad he won that ring in 2000. But I wish he was somehow on that roster with that current the Ravens team in 2012. Imagine him on the Ravens now with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Him and Ronnie. Like Ogden was one of the best tackles we've seen. That was they nailed it. With that as your first pick, by the way, that's just Ozzie Newsome did it again. He somehow did it again. Yeah. 6'9", by the way, one of the tallest players in NFL history.
Wow. Did not know that he was that tall.
Yeah, he was. So he tied with fellow Raven Jared. So with him, fellow Raven Jared Gaither, they were teammates, by the way. And Bengals tackle Dennis Rowland as the tallest players in the NFL. That's 6'9".
Look at that.
And Gaither and Ogden were both the tackles for 1 year, by the way. Ogden was left, Gaither was the right tackle. And that is a ridiculous 6'9" tackles, by the way.
Wow.
Look at that.
Number 3, Fonz.
Me or you?
Oh, sorry. You.
Actually, no, because my number 3 actually was
your number 3
was Ogden.
Was Ogden. Okay.
My
bad.
I will say this, but though, because Michael Strahan said this at the Super Bowl too, like that it was just intimidating Ogden because he was always smiling the entire game. Like he just was such a, like Strahan literally said, like, I don't understand it. He's like laughing. Like you think this guy's not mean enough to handle mean guys in the NFL, but he would literally rip your limbs off playing and smile at you after.
That's
like,
Jonathan Ogden.
So good
On Michael Strahan.
Great matchup.
Negative game.
Great matchup. It's a great matchup.
Yep. He was awesome. Would have loved to see him in Giants blue. But he was a red.
He would do well now in Giants blue.
Yeah. My number 3, Chris McAllister. 5 picks as a rookie in 1999 with 21 passes defended. This guy also had a career year in 2006. He had 6 picks and 2 touchdowns. Really good in coverage. Impressed, man. I mean, Fonz, you know best, but he was phenomenal for Baltimore. He finished his career final year with the New Orleans Saints in 2009. He played in just 2 games. I think he got a Super Bowl that year.
He was in that Super Bowl team
in his final year. So
with the
Saints,
also
Chris McAllister.
Yeah, I love McAllister. Yes. I think we go back to him. We go back to McAllister. I don't think he gets talked about as one of the better corners during that time period. He was a very good corner that now he will talk about. So thank you for putting McAllister higher, by the way. Thank you for that. What are we on now? My number 2, correct?
Those. Yep.
Tom, do we know who's 1 and 2 is going to be for me? Am I going to change it?
Ed Reed and Ray Lewis.
Ed Reed's my number 2. I mean, that guy, him and Ray Lewis got me into the Ravens because of their stats in NFL Street were absolutely ridiculous. Ray Lewis more because the number 52. I just like that number. But Ed Reed was just a ball hawk and safety. They're like Peyton Manning said this, by the way, in an interview. He was watching Ed Reed's eyes, and Ed Reed actually tricked him to throwing the ball in a certain direction. And when Peyton Manning threw it there, Ed Reed just darted to the other side of the field and grabbed the ball from him. So, like, when he, like Peyton Manning tried to plan to beat Ed Reed planned to trick Peyton Manning into throwing into another direction to go for it. Like, that's how crazy he was. Like, he was ridiculous.
Yeah, he was an awesome ball hawking safety. Him and Troy Polamalu were always in a competition. Who's the best safety in the league? Is it me? Is it you? It was Ed Reed.
But can you imagine them both on the same team, though?
Yeah.
That would be
phenomenal. Also, 7 career touchdowns for Ed Reed.
Yeah.
That's more than some receivers.
He also has, I looked at double check. He has the most career interception return yards with 1,590. That is ridiculous. Longest interception return, by the way. I remember Kevin Cobb passed it to him at the end of the back of the end zone, 108 yards returning. That's a name, by the way, Kevin Cobb.
Kevin Cobb. Again, Fonz. more yards than some receivers.
Yeah, he had more yards than
So,
Andrew Hawkins, by the way. Shout out to him. Callback from earlier in the show.
yeah. What a great player. I mean, he was awesome to watch. Edward Earl Reed Jr., by the way. My number 2 is Derek Mason. Reason why, I just liked him. Always a likable guy. May have not been the best player, but he was very, very good. I mean, he was the receiver number 1 for Tennessee for quite some time. And then he came and played with Baltimore, and he still had 4 1,000-yard seasons there.
Yeah.
So what's there to not like about Derek Mason?
Again, the all-time leading receiver in Ravens history.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Fonz, we know who your number 1 is, but let's hear it and why.
Mr. Ray Lewis, the man that got me into the Ravens. Shout out to NFL Street again, and got me just into watching football overall. The resume speaks for itself. Multi-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Defensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl MVP, which you rarely see for a defensive guy. Remember that ended his last season, tore his bicep, came back in the playoffs, and just had an incredible postseason run that year. One of my favorite players ever. My favorite Raven. I just love watching him. Leader on and off the field. Just a great player for the Ravens. Still loved today. Like, I've not heard any Ravens fans hate the guy. Like, this guy was just loved throughout his entire career. In an era where you see players bouncing around from different teams, including Mr. Ed Reed going to the Texans and Jets his last year, Lewis stayed loyal to the Ravens. This actually was their second pick that year. It was Ogden at 4, and then Lewis in the 20s, by the way. So they made a good first impression with that draft.
Yeah. Ray Lewis is a good pick. I didn't have him on my list just because he wasn't in my favorite 10. If it was top 10 Ravens players of all time, he would be number 1. But
yeah, I get that.
Favorite
That makes
for me, number 1, Ed Reed. Again, if you have a safety that can patrol the field like that, it's just absolutely incredible what he was able to do throughout his career. You mentioned more touchdowns than some receivers, more interception return yards than some receivers had in their entire career for receiving yards. So again, a guy who could really make a difference in a ball game. He's my number 1. Another Madden freak, by the way, back in the day.
So good. So good.
I do have 3 honorable mentions, though. You'll find this interesting.
I want to hear him.
Ray Lewis was number 11.
Obviously, yes.
Number 12 was Tony Siragusa.
The Goose. Yeah, he was an honorable mention too.
I wanted to put him on there. And this third one, you may or may not like, Tom Zbikowski, Notre Dame.
I'm not shocked you put him on there. I wanted him to be I really wanted him to be good for us.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted him to be good, and he just didn't it just didn't work. I don't know. He was a good special teamer, but that's it. So I got it's a couple I'm thinking of now.
Him and Nakamura, right? 2 safeties who were just special teams guys.
Yeah, I was trying to not replace everybody, but start alongside Ed Reed. There's a lot of other honorable mentions I can throw out there that you mentioned. Sam Adams, defensive tackle. Michael McCarry, defensive end. Goose, obviously. Marshall Yonda, but I would say more in the 2010s. I'd put him in if that was because he was drafted in 07, but, I'd still put him in that conversation. He almost made it, but I wanted to make sure. I put Nada there over that because I just didn't want to be too much. Yamon Figures just on the name alone. Matt Stover, the kicker. Sam Cook, gonna get the punch of people too. There's definitely more. DeJuan Landry, I wish he was better. He was good for a little bit. Tom Nyers came me down to the rabbit hole past Raven. Peter Bulware, I didn't even mention him. Jamie Sharper. I don't know, Tom. We've had a bunch of damn linebackers that I forgot, by the way, too. We've had so many freaking linebackers. I don't know how we do it. Yeah, a lot of them, Tom. Too many.
You guys have an outstanding franchise. You won 2 championships since 1996. The only reason why
that's good for an expansion team, by the way. We got to give credit to that.
And they travel very well. The Ravens fan base. They travel very, very well. They are a great franchise, and they'll win more championships moving forward. A lot of people have them as a dark horse Super Bowl team this year.
So
I don't blame them.
Can I put Ozzie Newsome as my favorite Raven in the 2000s? Just simply what he was been building throughout his time, even though he didn't play. Ozzie Newsome an honorable mention, by the way.
And the Ravens have the third longest tenured head coach, right, in the NFL, and Harbaugh.
Belichick obviously won.
Tomlin's number 2.
Yeah. Harbaugh's number 3. I would say. I don't think there's anybody. No, because it was Marvin Lewis for a while, and then Marvin Lewis, I don't know how he still had a job for that long. But yeah. Who was Pete Carroll?
But Fonz.
I'm sorry.
Pete Carroll was 2010. Pete Carroll was 2010?
Okay, because Harbaugh was 08 with Flacco. That was the year it was Flacco, Harbaugh. So you might be right. Okay. So it
was 2010. Yeah. It was Mike Holmgren. And then I think Jim Mora was there for like a cup of coffee. I forget. But then Pete Carroll.
We'll do a future episode of just random 2000s coaches that I remember. It's a Jim Mora era. I remember that.
There's Eric Mangini. Yeah, I don't want to go crazy. But yeah, that was awesome. Fonz, this has been an awesome show. A long show, but haven't been live for 3 weeks, so wanted to get back at it this week. Thank you so much for coming on. Your insight always much appreciated.
Oh, of course. Thank you, Tom, for having me. I mean, it's been a while since me and you have done a show together, so it's nice to kind of get back into it, talking some football, old school Ravens and whatnot too. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me back. I greatly appreciate it, man. And we got a lot of stuff for review and preview cooking up here, fellas. So you definitely want to check everything out with that,
Yes. And where can people find Four Corners and the Slickback Kickback report?
So you guys, if you want to check out Four Corners every Monday, me, Mike DeSanto, Albert Donor talking pro wrestling. Mondays on Review and Previews YouTube channel and Facebook. If you miss it, don't worry. It'll be on the audio platforms the next day. If you review and preview wherever you get your podcast, you listen to it right now. I have my own podcast, The Slickback Kickback Report, down below, and we'll link it or whatever Tom does with the editing. But Slickback Kickback, I had 200 episodes with my grandfather. It was definitely a good conversation. Definitely want to check that one out where you get your podcast and YouTube. And a little side project, I have Fonz Talks Jerseys, where I talk jerseys. So it's a very simple YouTube channel. It's been actually doing pretty well. So definitely, I do too much stuff, Tom. I have too much stuff. I do too many things.
Yeah, man of many talents. Fonz the Falco.
Oh, talented. Thank you. I appreciate that one. I have talent. Look at that. Tom said it. I have talent.
Fonz, thank you so much for hopping on tonight. This was a blast. We'll have to do it again in the future. On behalf of Fonz the Falco, I'm Tom Scavetta. You've been watching Review and Preview here on YouTube and Facebook Live. Have a good night, everybody.